Also, today's missing person case is Thailand, Pernia. Also, today's missing person case is Destiny. Today's missing person case is Haley Bible. Also, today's missing person case is Isabel Grace. Also, today's missing person case is Alexa Ware. Today's missing person case is Also, today's missing person case is Aaron Teresa Lawrence. Today's missing person case is Jessica Marshik from What's up, mob crew? I'm Chris, and today's video What's up, everybody? Welcome to the stream. If you can hear me all right, please put a 1 in the chat. I appreciate everybody taking the time to tune in today. I am Chris with Monsters Under the Bed, and I cover true crime to the paranormal. And all my shows, I like to introduce a couple of missing person cases in the beginning of my shows. So I got a couple of requests. So today we've got Donnie Flint, missing from Berkeley, Massachusetts. It says here he's at age 48, was last seen around 10 p.m. on Wednesday, June 7th of 2017, just on 100 block Padel Ford Street in Berkeley, Massachusetts. He's described as 5'10" and 180 pounds, mostly bald, and brown eyes, but his distinctly large ears, you can see here. So he's somebody, if he was wandering around, I think definitely you could notice the ears. So that was sent in by a viewer. I do take requests. If anybody has a family member or a friend that is recently gone missing, just email me the details, and I'd be happy to feature them in upcoming lives. So thank you for whoever sent that in. I think that was Jolie, I believe, that sent that in to me. So thank you. More than happy to help out. And here's just kind of another picture here of him. And then I've got one more. This is Jessica Stax from New Albany, Minnesota. Says her and her boyfriend launched a boat into the Tallahatchie River on New Year's Day. So that is at the beginning of this year. And she got out of the boat at 10 a.m. walking along the riverbank toward Highway 30. And that was the last time she was seen. I have to look into some more information. It's kind of weird. She'd just be walking along the riverbank toward the highway. So she is 28 at the time. She's 5'5", 110 pounds, and she has red blonde hair and blue eyes. So I'll zoom in on that. So what's up, everybody? What's up, Karen? What's up, Melissa? What's up, Michelle? Shout out to everybody. I wish I could shout everybody out. But we'd be here all night. So thank you guys so much. So today we are going to be talking about the Stephen Avery / Brandon Dassey case. If you guys have Netflix, there is a 2-part series called Making a Murderer. It's very fascinating. I've watched it multiple times, especially there's 2 seasons, and season 2 introduces a new lawyer Kathleen Zellner, who is just a rock star of a lawyer. And we'll get into her a little bit later. But yeah, just a crazy case. There's so many layers to this case that there's just no way I could go through everything tonight. So we will just kind of go over just the background of Stephen, and then we'll just kind of go over some of the timeline and then a little bit of the evidence. So Caroline says, there's an idea for a show. All shout outs, no content. You know what? I will be doing, Gizla from Grizzly True Crime did kind of like a VIP. I have done one members only show. And I've been meaning to set up a new one here in the very near future. So if you'd like to become a member, we'll do a members only live soon, and we can have people call in and stuff. So I think that'd be a lot of fun. She did a Q&A, which is something I've been wanting to do as well. So maybe we'll do something like that. So anyway, so just his background. So his full name, Stephen Allan Avery, born on July 9, 1962, Manitowoc County, Wisconsin. Says he was an American laborer who served 18 years in prison for, and I can't say this word, for this word here, an attempt murder before his conviction was overturned because of DNA evidence. Is Making a Murderer a documentary? It is. Yep, it is a documentary. It's 2 seasons, and it's got quite a few episodes each season. A lot of hours. I'm not sure how many hours and how many episodes, but I'm sure somebody in here would probably... We're frozen? We shouldn't be frozen. How is it? Are we good or not? Someone said I was frozen. We just switched over to Google Fiber, so I want to make sure we're good. Can we put 1 in the chat for okay? Is everything good? Just want to make sure. Okay, good. All right. So I saw somebody said it was frozen. Boy, that gets my heart going because we had trouble. So, yes, it's a documentary, just to finish the question. So, very good, too. Very interesting. So, I'm a little behind on the stream. Yes, well, we'll definitely talk about that, Miranda. Yep. So, all right. So, on July 29th, 1985, Penny Bernstein, of course I can't say this word, was sexually assaulted on a beach near 2 rivers. She provided a description of the assailant, and police believed it resembled Stephen Avery. After Bernstein picked him out of a photo array, Avery was arrested. Although 16 people testified that he was elsewhere at the time of the attack, forensics official claimed that a hair found on one of Avery's shirts was consistent with that of the victim. In December of 1985, Avery was convicted of the crime and sentenced to 32 years. However, some had doubts about his guilt, believing that Gregory A. Allen, an area man of strong... They worded this weird. A man that strongly resembled Avery and was suspected in other crimes, might be the assailant. However, law enforcement officials never investigated Allen, unfortunately. And so he spent 18 years out of those 32 years in prison. And finally, DNA kind of caught up. And so in September 2003, a state lab using newer technology matched the hair to Gregory Allen, who, it's too bad I didn't have time, but if I would have had a picture, when Stephen Avery's kind of got this full look, because this is his mugshot here when he was busted for this particular crime, they both have that same kind of full beard. So I could see why the witness might pick Stephen out, in a lineup, because they both kind of had the same beard. So let's see where we at here. So during the time he was already in prison, Gregory Allen, for assault on another charge. And so all charges against Avery were dropped, and he was released from prison. Soon thereafter, he filed a $36 million wrongful conviction lawsuit against the county. I mean, 18 years of your life. That's. I think that's a fair amount. And so a lawsuit against the county, district attorney, and the sheriff. And I wish I could get more into that. Like I said, there's so many layers. And maybe next time we'll dive a little bit deeper just into that case as well. But yeah, there was definitely some fishy stuff going on in that case. Let me adjust the screen just a little bit here. So we've got Grizzly. Awesome. Thank you. Gosh, she's staying up late. I appreciate you tuning in. So this is Teresa Halbach. So let's see. Let me go back real quick. So Stephen was released in September 2003. And so now he's filed this $36 million lawsuit. And so he's going through this process. And October 31st, which is Halloween. Get my chat caught up here. Teresa Halbach, now she worked for Auto Trader, which is basically where you go and take pictures of vehicles. And Auto Trader is like a little magazine that has used cars for sale. And so she was a photographer. And so she would go onto Avery. So Avery had a family-owned business. And this is their salvage yard here. It's huge. And so they would tow vehicles, and they had all this. And so anyway, they were always selling cars. And I believe Stephen's sister was selling a minivan. And so on the 31st, she went over there to take pictures of this minivan. And then I think she gets paid through Stephen or something like that. And so she arrives at the property for a photograph of the minivan for Auto Trader, and arrives at approximately 2:30. And obviously, she had to interact with Stephen, but after that, that's the last time she was ever seen. Now, there would be some witnesses that said that they thought they'd seen her car drive off, but that's something we'll probably have to get into on like part 2. So while this was going on, so this is kind of just a recap. He still had a civil case still going on. And just a few days later, on November 3rd, a missing persons report was filed for Teresa. Make sure I got that up. And a search was undertaken to locate Halbach. 2 days later, her vehicle was found at the Avery's salvage yard. Over the following week, Halbach's car key was discovered in Avery's house. Blood, and later determined to be later determined to be his. Oh, okay. So I see. So Avery's house, and then blood, which was later determined to be his blood, was found in her car. And we'll go over that towards the end. In addition, they found human bones were recovered from a burn pit near Avery's home. And this is another thing that's quite complicated, because there wasn't just one site where they found her bones. It was like 3 or 4 different areas where they found her bones. There was like a main site, but there was a few other sites. And we'll talk about that a little bit down the road. And so additional evidence included a bullet that they found, which was in Avery's garage. And supposedly it had Halbach's DNA, but this would be heavily argued in the court. And then Avery would be arrested, and while in jail, he settled his civil suit for $400,000, way less than $36 million. Because apparently he was either going to get $400K or nothing if he tried to fight this case or something. I can't remember exactly, but so he lost out on a lot of money because he needed this money to, hire lawyers. So he couldn't continue to fight that civil case. So he had to settle for the 400. So now we get to the really disturbing part of this case. I mean, not that her death is not disturbing, But this is, so Brendan Dassey is Stephen's nephew. In March 2006, Brendan Dassey, a 16-year-old nephew who reportedly had an IQ of 73, told police detectives that he and Avery had essayed and murdered Halbach before burning her body. As on several occasions, Dassey was interviewed without legal representation or a parent. He later recanted, claiming that his confession was coerced, and we'll listen to a little bit of the interview, which is, it's heartbreaking. This, like I said, this kid was totally coerced, in my opinion, and we'll get to that in a minute. So, and this is the biggest one. Although there was no physical evidence against him, he was still charged with various crimes, but no physical evidence whatsoever against Brendan Dassey. It's crazy. So here's a couple of pictures, screenshots from the police interrogation. And I just kind of put before and after. And like I said, we'll kind of look at this a little bit. But Brendan Dassey would be brought in for questioning regarding Teresa Halbach and his uncle Stephen's involvement. He had no idea that what was about to happen would cost him life in prison with the possibility of parole in 2048. Watching this interrogation is very disturbing. In fact, one judge was quoted as saying, "Watching this, it was a death by 1,000 cuts." It's really tough, and yeah, we'll play part of his interview. So this poor kid was brought in for interview, and these detectives tell him that they already know what's going on. They already know the story. They keep telling him that, and they keep telling him they say the truth will set you free, and they make it sound like to him that, if he tells what they want to hear, he gets to go home. And it's so sad because, he's like, at the end of the interrogation, after they coerced him, he's asking them, "Hey, am I going to still be able to go to, school and make it for gym?" It's terrible. So we'll take a look at this. So there's 3 parts to it, and there's probably about 2.5 hours. We're definitely not going to be watching the 2.5 hours. I'm going to play just little bits and pieces of it just to kind of give you guys an idea of what was going on. Let me adjust the screen just a little bit here. Okay. Yeah, poor kid. Yeah, poor kid is right. So they bring him in, and
why don't you just have a seat, Brendan?
Let's kind of go over what's going on.
Tom and I just got to stop out for a minute, and then we'll be right in, okay?
Okay.
All right.
So remember, even though he's 16, he's got an IQ of 70-something, 71. That is the equivalent of a 10-year-old. So even though he's 16... it's like interrogating a 10-year-old. So here he sits for a little while, and then they finally come in, start asking him some basic questions.
Or more importantly, the courts and stuff, is that you tell the whole truth. Don't leave anything out. Don't make anything up because you're trying to cover something up a little. And even if those statements are against your own interest, you know what I mean? That makes it might make you look a little bad, or make you look like you were more involved than you want to be.
Sure.
Looked at. It's hard to do, but it's good from that vantage point to say, hey, there's no doubt you're telling the truth, because you've now given the whole story. You've even given points where it didn't look real good for you either. And I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we kind of came here to let you talk a little, maybe get some stuff off your mind or chest if you need to. And
Okay, so I'm gonna, like I said, I can't play this whole thing. There's way too much of it. So we'll kind of skip. So right now it's already been 8 minutes into interrogation. They're just starting to kind of open up, say, hey, you tell the truth, you know, we're good. Tell the whole truth. Truth will set you free. So I think it goes for about 20 minutes of this, just kind of buddying up to him.
And so I did, and then that's when he like cut something and then it was leaking on the floor.
Let's stop right there. So he calls you and asks you for help to fix the car, and you go over to his house, and where do you go?
Into the garage.
And what's in the garage?
His Monty.
His Monty. Where's that Suzuki?
On the side.
is the big garage door open? So you walk in there and and this is Halloween. Okay. And what's he doing?
He's working on his Monty.
What about the fire?
So, okay. So he's just basically saying, now right now he's probably just telling the truth of what really happened that night. Well, I can't say that, but what I guess could have happened and more probable. But he's just saying, hey, my uncle's, because they have a body shop and they're just working on a car. It's Halloween. And then they mention a fire, and we'll gonna get into that later on. Because they had like this big burn pit and they'd just throw stuff in it, tires, whatever, you know. And then I guess like since it was Halloween, they were going to do like a big bonfire, you know, because, you know, and celebrating Halloween, you know. And so, yeah.
Do you mean if it was started or something? No, it wasn't.
Okay. We're not going to go any further in this because we need to get the truth out now.
So he'll so basically for like the first 20 minutes, he'll start telling like a story, which probably some of that is what really just happened for, you know, in my opinion. But then the officers stop and say, oh, because he'll get to like the end of the day and they're like, well, okay, what happened to Teresa? And so they back up and then they keep restarting his story over and over again. And then they start feeding him like, well, how did she get cut? Or, you know, stuff like that. And then that starts to, you know, open up about, and you can clearly tell he's just trying to make up whatever. He's just trying to tell them what they want to hear.
It's okay.
The truth. It's so easy to tell the truth. It's hard to make things up.
Her Jeep.
That's right.
Her Jeep was in the garage, wasn't it?
And you tell me if I'm wrong, when you were at the house, you just went over here because you had talked about it in the morning. Is that correct?
So he just finally, because I kept asking him, well, where's the Jeep? Where's, you know, because she had a RAV4, Teresa. And so finally, after 20 minutes approximately, he says, oh, okay, well, now the Jeep's in the car. Even though before it was two other cars that were in there that was working, now her Jeep's in there.
There was no call from Stephen asking you to come over, was there? And you went over, was the big door closed?
That's, yeah.
You're sure about that?
Yeah.
So the big door is open and her truck is in there when you get over there?
Yeah.
By her truck, who are we talking about?
Well, if I wanted to come over later.
No, whose truck
Whose
was
truck?
in there?
Or the truck.
Yeah.
Her Jeep.
Who's her?
Teresa's.
Okay, and that Jeep is a what? Do you remember?
Like what color?
Color or make?
Green. Like a greenish blue.
Okay.
Is it drove in or is it backed into the garage?
It's backed in.
Okay. Now, let's be honest. What did he tell you? What did he show you?
What did you see and what did he tell you?
He showed me the knife and rope.
Where was she? Come on, we know this already.
So that's the thing. They keep saying, we already know this already. We already know this. We know the truth. Truth will set you free. We already know this already. I know. I'm sorry, Jennifer. Like I said, we're not going to play a whole lot, but I'm just playing some of the big points. This is kind of where he starts to, he's just trying to tell him whatever, And it's so wild because, he starts saying, oh, well, we killed her in the garage, or he killed her in the garage, and then, well, no, we killed her in the on the bed, and we stabbed her and all this. Anyway, we'll get into it, and it's clearly it's made up.
Be honest.
In my opinion.
In the back of the Jeep.
She was in the back of the Jeep. Was she alive or dead at that time?
Dead.
Are you sure? Okay. What did you see in the back? No, this is hard.
Okay, so I'm going to skip it forward a little bit. So like I said, they have to keep restarting the story over every time because, he'll get to like the end, and he thinks, okay, I've told him something, hopefully, this I can get out of here and go back to school. But, they need to have that, because she was shot. She had, they found a skull fragment that had a bullet hole in it. So they need to hear him say that, she was shot, and a couple of other things. With Avery moving the car and moving her body. Those are kind of the things, that very little evidence that was here. So they need him to, talk about that.
Like 6:45.
So it's still about that same time, 6:45.
So let me go a little bit forward.
Flint.
Okay, so he opens the back door of her truck. And tell me what you see.
Ooh.
Her body laying there.
I just want to read this. This happened close to where I live. And nearby around here, hold on, I can't read it from over there. I wanted to read that. There it is. Oh, you retracted it. As corrupt as, okay, so you say that this happened close to where you lived, and nobody around here believes they did it. Interesting. So the locals think that Avery and Dassey are innocent, and Manitowoc is corrupt. Now, I don't like to talk about corruption, but there was some very fishy things in this case, and we'll get to a little bit of that later.
What could you see of her?
Truth now. As hard as it is, tell us the truth.
Her head, her body, her feet.
So she was not covered up? No, I didn't think so. See, we already knew that.
Did she have clothes?
See, and they do this the entire time. Oh, we already knew that. I'm
going to be honest.
How could they know that? How could they know that? They found a burnt body in pieces. How could they know any of this stuff? Yes, they interviewed Steven, who obviously never opened up. So how could they have known this? I mean, I said it's really tough to watch. Oh, Laura, you're from Wisconsin too, and nobody believes they did it. Wow. True crime. I have huge issues with this case. Oh, I'm glad I brought this case up. We might have to do some phone calls and stuff. Maybe next time. Like I said, I wanted to kind of just do the overall view of the case. But yeah, I want to definitely start deep diving into it further down the road.
If she did, she did. If she didn't, she did.
Sort of.
Okay, what'd she have on?
Like a white t-shirt and that.
Okay, so I'm going to skip forward to where they're supposedly stabbing her on the bed or something, or cutting her hair. See if I can find this.
I don't remember.
Love the mob crew. We'll be back for the replay in the AM, 2:30 AM. Great coverage, Chris. Thank you so much, Grizzly. Have a great night.
Where did you see injuries on her?
Her stomach.
Her stomach, what did it look like?
Like she was stabbed.
Well, I don't necessarily, I'm going to tell you I don't know what it looks like when someone's stabbed. Okay, you got to talk to someone that doesn't realize this. Tell us what you saw.
Like it was all bleeding and that.
Show me where and on you that would be.
Like right here.
How much blood? Was that? Show me on you the extent of the stain or the blood that you saw.
Like right there.
That whole area, was it pretty wet yet or dry?
Like damp.
Damn. Could you see flesh or just the shirt?
A little bit of flesh.
How many times did he say he stabbed her?
Once.
What else did he do to her?
So now he says once, but if I recall, he's going to say that they stabbed her, or they stabbed her and then slit her neck, and yet there was no blood evidence whatsoever, because this is supposedly taken on in, so Avery's got a little trailer, you know, because they've got their salvage yard, and then close to that area they got their little trailers that they all kind of live in, the family and stuff. And so this is just a tiny little trailer, you know, your typical trailer, you know, bedroom, you know, little living area and kitchen. And supposedly there was zero blood, but yet she's stabbed, and he's going to eventually say that they sliced her neck and cut her hair, and there was no evidence of that. There was no evidence of a cleanup, nothing.
Already know, to be honest.
We've got enough of her to know some things that happened to her. So tell us the truth.
What else did he do to her?
Raped her.
Did he tell you that?
Tell us about that. And where he did it.
I don't know where he did it, but
Okay.
What did he say he did in his words? What did he tell you? You can swear, you can use any language you want. Tell us exactly what he told you he did to her.
that he ripped off her clothes, and she refused, and she tried to get away, but he was too strong for her, and he did it.
He did what?
Rape.
Okay, so we're going to skip forward just a little bit. Like I said, this is part one. There's two parts. I just want to play a little bit more part one, and then a few parts of part two. I want to show the mom's reaction. I hate to do it, but just to show you, it's just so heart-wrenching.
Then what do?
I just went to go get the mail and went in the house.
So you go get the mail, you go in the house, and then what?
Sat down and watched TV.
Okay, Brennan, you're doing a good job. Let's go back to when you go outside to get your bike, and you're going to go get the mail. You said you heard screaming. Tell us more about what you heard.
So, and then, of course, they have to keep backing up the story, just like I've been saying, because the timeline, what he's telling, because he's clearly making it up. And so they have to keep backing up and having them restart over because they don't fit their timeline. They're trying to narrow this story into, their version that they need to fit for them to prosecute, Stephen and him, now that he's talked about this stuff. And so, yeah, they just keep backing up his story. And then, he starts out with the truth of what he did. He came home, supposed to play some video games. I believe he talked to his mom. And then, and then he went and helped, Stephen at the body shop. But then, of course, now they have to keep redoing it.
You said, help me. Was it female screaming?
Yeah.
What else did you hear her say, if anything?
Pretty much.
That's all I heard.
And is her vehicle still there?
Yeah.
Where is the vehicle that time?
By the big trees.
Okay. Did that scare you when you heard that screaming?
Sort of.
Did you go over to his house then?
Mm-mm.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
And you said you rode your bike down to get the mail. You
Yeah.
came back, and then what'd you do? Honestly. You went over to his house?
No.
What'd you do?
I went to our garage and put the bike away. And Brian was in there working on his car.
Oh, I'm so sorry about that, Marquez.
I asked him if he wants any help, and he said no. That if he wanted help, he would come in and get me or something. So I went in the house and I sat down.
Did Brian hear the screaming too?
No, he had the radio going.
Okay.
Did you tell Brian?
No.
Okay, you went in the house and sat down. And then?
Yes, great point. Great point. Yeah, when I was watching the documentary, now keep in mind, obviously they felt the documentary was definitely one-sided, and it was all to make Stephen look innocent. Then on season 2, they introduced what was little evidence that they really, because Kenny Cradd, so we'll get to a little later, but he was, I believe, the leading prosecutor, and he, after season 1 of Making a Murderer, had a big argument saying, oh, well, they left out some of the big evidence in the case. And I'm like, ooh, so I looked up online, and the only thing was some DNA on a hood latch, but we'll get into that a little later on. But that can be highly refuted. So, yeah.
I waited, and then I watched TV for a little bit, and my mom came home.
And she comes home at about what time?
About 4:35.
Okay.
Yes.
And what happens?
Yes.
She asked me.
I don't want to jump ahead, but yes, Folk, you're right. And we'll get to why you say that here in just a bit.
If anybody got the mail? I'm like, yeah, I did. And
okay, so I'm gonna skip it forward to where I think they're kind of, because of course they have to back him up once again, because he just, he's really probably telling part truths, and he's trying to, still please them, but of course it's not fitting their narrative that they need, so they have to kind of rewind back, and then of course that's when they feed him some of the information. So when did she get shot? Stuff like that.
Both.
And what were they handcuffed to?
Okay, here we go. This is what I wanted to find.
Yeah.
How do you know?
Because she was moving around.
Was she making any noise?
It's all right, bud.
Yeah.
What was she saying?
Screaming for help.
What was handcuffed? Her hands or her legs or both?
Both.
And what were they handcuffed to?
Like there's round poles on each side.
Okay.
On his bed. And you're getting there, okay? Let's back up again.
And see, let's back up again.
Did you go get the mail?
Yeah.
Back to getting
When
the
you
mail.
went to get the mail with your bike, did you hear something at that time, or did it happen when you came back with the mail? You can do it. Just tell us the truth.
And I came back.
I gotta believe this is in your mind right now like a picture. There's a video in your mind, this whole thing, and you're trying to get it out, and the only way you can get it out is by talking
Thank
about
you,
it
Tris,
right
for
now.
becoming a subscriber.
So you came back. Did you have a letter for Stephen?
Yeah.
Did you go to his trailer?
Yeah.
Did you hear screaming coming from inside the trailer?
Yeah.
What did you do then? Are you at the door? Where are you? When you first hear the screaming, where are you?
Like by the other camper that we passed.
Way down there?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a
You
good
hear
point.
screaming
That's a very
halfway
good
or a
point.
quarter way down that frontage road, your driveway road?
Yeah.
Are you able to make out any of the words?
So one of the things thought criminal, because that's a great question. Why did they have it out for Avery? So, and that's something, like I said, there's just so many layers to this that, like I said, today we're just going to do just the overview of everything without going too deep into, because there's so much. But apparently they had like a bad past with the police, law enforcement in the Averys. They were kind of like the bad boys, and were getting in trouble when they were younger. And so there's kind of supposedly some bad blood. But then, of course, you have the civil suit, so they think, ooh, they could have been a setup. I don't know if I believe in the setup so much, but I still think that there's definitely not enough evidence. Without this confession, I think the evidence, there's not enough evidence to say that for sure that Stephen Avery is guilty, in my opinion, because there's very little evidence. I mean, so.
No.
But yeah, so like I said, we'll get it further down into his appeals and everything. But yeah, if this confession gets recanted and he gets released and gets taken out of court, then that literally means that they have to open up Stephen Avery's case. So that's kind of part of the reason why they just won't, why they've denied him.
Okay, take me from there and be honest so we don't have to keep backing up here, because we know, but we need it in your words. I can't say it.
Brendan, I already know. You know we know. Okay? Come on, buddy. Let's get this out, okay?
Almost kind of like a father. Remember, he's like a 10-year-old. Kind of like a father. Come on, buddy. Let's just get through this, Go have ice cream at the end. He's thinking he's going to go back to school.
You're coming back with the mail. Take us through it. It's the video in your head. Play it for us.
Oh, what?
You come back with the mail, what happens?
Oh, that's crazy. Polygraph.
Well,
Maybe if you would love to, if you would like to come on the, you don't have to just call in maybe one time and talk about how you felt about the case, seeing it, and what's your impressions of it. It's one thing to just get it from the media, but to actually be there without that influence, it'd be interesting to hear. But I don't know. That's you can email me if that's something you'd be into sometime down the road.
I seen Stevens, so I went over there right away to bring it over by him, and I knocked like 3 times, and then he finally came.
Are you hearing anything coming from the inside of the trailer at this time?
Yeah,
What?
the words help me.
Okay. That's got to be pretty devastating, right? But you still knock.
Mhm.
You went into the trailer then?
You knock and he comes to the door. What's he look like?
Yeah, Barbara, if you're on an iPhone, you might have to go into the Google Chrome to be able to hit the join button. There should be a join button next to the subscribe button to become a member. There's also, you can donate, but there's the 2 ways. But if you have iPhone, it's a little harder. You can't just use the YouTube app. Sorry to stop, but I get that question a lot. And for people who have iPhones, it's a little more trickier.
Is he dressed? Is he got anything on him? What's he look like?
He's got a white shirt on with red shorts and all sweaty.
He's all sweaty. Any blood at this time?
No.
All right.
Okay, so I'm going to play just a little bit because I think this is where he's going to say, oh, yeah, we cut her hair. And, of course, that's not what they're looking for. They want certain answers.
It's okay. Tell us what happened. What does he say to you?
Yeah, great comment. Yeah. Victim tied up
Daddy never got
screaming.
some of that stuff, so he wanted to get some.
Henry got what?
Great comment, Steve.
A girl.
Okay.
What did you say just a second ago, though?
Repeat what you said.
Daddy wanted to get some
Somewhat.
pussy.
And that's what he said to you? Okay.
Now I can start believing you. Okay?
So do you have a soda?
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens next?
I opened it and drank some.
What's he saying to you? It's all right. You are doing the right thing.
That's a good comment.
Come on. What's he
Yeah.
saying?
Daddy wants to keep on doing it.
Okay.
Doing what?
Raping her.
What kind of words is he using, though?
Okay, so we're going to skip a little bit more.
Oh, come on. Be honest. You went back into that room.
Don't let us down, Brendan.
We know you were back there.
Oh, see, that is where people get super... I mean, of course, this whole thing is triggering, but now they're trying to get him involved in it. You know, first it's just his uncle did it, and he just kind of walked in. But now they're like, okay, well, what's your involvement? And so now they're backing him up to say, okay, well, when did you start doing, things to Teresa?
Let's get it all out today. This will be all over with.
Yes, if you want some, right? That's what you told us.
Mm-hmm.
If you want some pussy,
Where
what
do
do
you
you
go?
tell him?
I said I wasn't aged, and so he took me back there and showed me some
What did he show you?
her naked body.
Okay. Is she alive?
Yeah,
Is she talking?
yeah.
What's she saying? What's she saying? I know it's hard, but you gotta tell us. What did she say?
The video will never go away unless you can talk to us about it.
Go ahead. What did she say?
She's asking Steven why you would do something like that.
Does she say anything to you? Does she see you?
Yeah,
Does she say something to you?
no.
You should be
again
sorry.
what you
Yeah, no, I think they're
described
both
how she was
innocent
done
as
that.
well. But I try not to share too much of innocent or guilty. I just try to present these cases. But in my opinion, I definitely think he's innocent. And Steven, I would say more innocent than guilty. But yeah,
How is she attached to
But
that?
we're
Where
all
is she?
entitled
Tell
to
us
our
that
opinions.
And be truthful again.
That she's chained up to the bed and she's faced up.
Face up, no clothes on.
Mm-mm.
okay. So let me see.
Say some dimensions, like 2 by 2, 2 feet by 2.
Cleaned in the garage or just one?
2.
Okay, so that's part one. We'll play just a little bit more part two, and then we'll talk about let's see what I got here. Okay, yeah. We'll talk about the evidence. We'll take a break, obviously. But I'm gonna play just a little bit more. So they walked out. I think this is after, let's see. He's basically confessed. Now he's in deep doo-doo now and has no idea. Make the poor kid wait for ever. Yep. That's base. Oops. Yeah, the cops are saying the sorry. He's filling in the blank, and if the blank is wrong, they rewind constantly. Like I said, I just played
the bathroom or
just
anything?
a little
Sure.
bit.
Need anything else? Sandwich or anything?
Oh, you're so sweet.
Did you get your
Barbara.
soda?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll be in about 2 minutes, okay?
There's
I
some
have a question.
tutorials
Sure.
on
How long is
YouTube
this
how to
gonna
It shouldn't
navigate
take a whole lot longer.
Do you
Apple.
think I can get there before 129?
Probably not.
Oh,
What's
yeah.
that
So
129?
this is what I wanted to play because this is just gut wrenching. Absolutely gut wrenching. So now, obviously, he's basically confessed not only about his uncle, but now he's involved too because it kept rewinding and saying, "Okay, well, all right, where were you? What did you? How were you involved? When did you, stab her?" Or so now he's, implicated as well. So now these guys are happy. They've got their confession. It's been 20 minutes. Over 20 minutes.
Hey, Brendan, need to use the bathroom or anything? You sure? Need anything else? Sandwich or anything?
They're right here.
Did you get your soda?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll be in about 2 minutes, okay?
I got a question though.
Sure.
How long is this going to take?
It shouldn't take a whole lot longer.
Do you think I can get there before 129?
Probably not. What's that 129?
Well, I had a project due in 6 hours.
Okay. We'll worry about that later, okay? All right. I'll be back in a few minutes, okay?
Okay.
He's just thinking about school, has no idea what he just said is going to seal his fate for more than half of his life. He's going to be out in 2048. He's got 26 years more to go. So, yeah, his parole is not till 2048. And who knows if he, if he gets out on that parole, he'll have a parole hearing. But, yeah, he's still got 6 years to go. Yeah. Yeah, we'll take a break, Melissa. We're gonna do the donation dance for one last time because I'm retiring it, but I thought I'd pull it out one last time because I've got part 2 coming tomorrow. So there's one more part that I want to play, and I want to show his mother coming in, and this is also just absolutely gut-wrenching. So he comes back in.
The road to your house. And you said that you saw Stephen on the porch. Mark and I are having a problem with that. Now, I'm not saying that I'm going to put words.
So now, obviously, he's kind of confessed to it, but now the timeline for them isn't working for, their prosecution. So now they need to go back and kind of, retweak some things. So they need to go feed him some more info to get that right narrative that they need to,
We're having a problem
seal his
with
fate
that.
and his uncle's.
Blaine not seeing it, stuff like that, and the time period, because it's 3:45, and we're real familiar with time periods here and when she got there and stuff. Is there something you need to tell us about that?
Yeah, we'll go through the history of that
When you got
beekeeping
home,
lady.
what did you see before you went into your house? Did you even go in your house, or did you go over to Stephen's? Talk to us about what happened there, because
He went into his house. There is a phone call. It has to be on record. Because when he came home, he went in his home. He played some video games. And you know what? I bet you if he played... It depends on what video game, but probably most, at that time, that's 2005. So maybe PlayStation 2... I would think PlayStation 2 went for a long time. So maybe PlayStation 2, Xbox 360 wasn't out. So yeah, still probably PlayStation 2. Anytime you save a game, it's made a, how we learned in the Depp versus Heard trial. Anything like saving a game or anything is a timestamp. So I guarantee you, whatever game he was playing, if they didn't throw that console away, I guarantee you that timestamp of him playing that game would be in there. and would corroborate that he was at his home at whatever time he said he was. And then there was also the phone call that he talked to his mom at some point.
Time periods aren't adding up, bud.
Well, I don't know if Blaine seen it, but I never asked him about it.
So I think now they're trying to get him to talk about the shooting. The shooting needs to happen in the garage, I believe. Let me skip ahead a little bit here.
Did you actually see those items in the burn barrel?
Yeah.
Tell me what you saw in there, exactly.
Like they're buried underneath a garbage bag that was...
How do you know, how could you see them if they were underneath a garbage bag?
Because the garbage bag was like on top, like that far off the top.
And we'll talk about, so they talk about the burn pit because apparently they burned her body in this bonfire that night. And I will go over that evidence at the end. And there's a huge argument on why you just can't throw a body and burn it to bones and ash with an open fire, like a bonfire. It's basically not possible. And we'll go over that.
Top.
Okay, so we have the barrel. Okay, why don't you look at me for a second? Okay, you got the barrel.
So, Johnny, that's a good question. So, I don't know how much of this was played to the jurors. That's a good question. I doubt they... I could be wrong, but I'm assuming the lawyers would have probably fought to only have snippets of it. But I could be wrong on that. Maybe Polygraph knows.
Okay, and here's the top of the barrel. And the garbage bag is on...
Any more?
Did Steven say that he had already done that or not?
Okay.
I said that I ain't old enough to have a kid yet, so he said, yeah, do you want to try it though? I'm like, not right now. He just kept on egging me on.
Okay, and did he say anything else to you when he was egging you on? How did he egg you on?
Okay, so now they're
He's
back
like,
to
come on, try it.
the room, and they're supposed to be essaying her, assaulting her.
And he had you cut the hair off, you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where did you put the hair?
On the dresser.
Again, tell us why he wanted you to do that.
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
What happened to the hair after?
I am so sorry
I
to hear
never
that,
touched it.
Bodacious. That is horrible.
Do you know where it went?
No.
Has he ever told you what he did with that hair?
No.
Brandon, you sure?
Yeah.
Do you have any of that hair at home?
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
So if they cut their hair, if they cut her hair, where's that hair? You know. So anyway, let's skip a little bit more. I'm just gonna play a little bit more. I wanted to show the mom's reaction.
Should we draw some pictures? Is that okay? Or are you going to some things you
We'll
want to do
talk
first?
for a bit,
Okay.
and we'll get to the pictures.
All right.
That's all right.
That's fine.
Okay, let's go.
I mean, some things that you might use to...
Oh, the shovel and the rake.
Right. Did he get anything else like that out of the garage?
No, just them two.
Okay, because I don't want to go too long, so let's, because we still got quite a bit to go through. So I'm just going to show you, because obviously they get their narrative that they want, their timeline, you know, after restarting the story over gosh knows how many times. Now they're having him draw pictures of how she was chained to the bed, I think, and where some of the evidence is supposed to be, and he does that.
Like, while you were doing it, after you did it, before you did it?
Before.
That's a great point.
When you
Interesting.
cut her throat,
Oh yeah, so yeah, then they supposedly they cut her throat. Okay, so if they cut her throat while she's chained to the bed, clearly that would be a fatal wound. I mean, unless you just cut it, but you know, he makes it sound like they cut her throat. That was it. Now that doesn't fit with them, so they're gonna have to go back because how she's supposed to have died is been shot through the head. So they need him to say, "Oh, Stephen shot her." So they have to back up his story again after he gets done just telling him that they cut her throat.
When you're in the bedroom and you cut her throat, previously you said that you thought she was alive. Is that still your thought on that?
Yeah.
And why was that?
Because she was breathing a little bit. She was like
Sarah says, "Look, Chris, I think Stephen did it, but not Brandon."
not trying to breathe as hard as she could. From screaming a lot.
She was screaming a lot or wasn't?
She was.
When you cut her throat, was she screaming? Oh. When you cut her throat?
Because when you scream a lot, your breathing goes up or something.
Well, explain that a little bit. You said she was screaming a lot. When was she screaming a lot?
Like.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, where's the blood? So what's interesting and ironic is now they'll have this evidence in the garage where they supposedly shot her, and where she was finally actually shot and killed. They said in the garage that they tried to clean up the area with bleach and some other cleaning tools. But yet, so they clean the garage, but yet there's no evidence of a cleanup in the trailer. But yet the trailer is where, the blood is, where, her throat's slit and hair's cut and she's stabbed in the stomach. Yeah. So who is there on that? We'll get to that, Caroline, in just a minute. We're like I said, there's so many layers. Yes, thank you, Sarah. Yeah, she is the lawyer. She's a rock star, and we'll get to her in just a minute.
While you were doing it, after you did it, before you did it?
Before.
Okay, so as I said, we got so much to do. So his mom must come in part 3. So anyway, finally they get him to say, "Oh, well, she was shot in the garage." That was kind of the final piece to their, narrative that they needed in the timeline. And so I'm just trying to look for his mom when she comes in for the first time. This poor kid's waiting this 30 minutes, 40 minutes. Just probably thinking about school. Now he's probably... Oh, yeah. So now finally his mom gets to come in. Has no idea what just happened.
Tell me. Huh?
Barbara, give me your coffee. Save your answer.
Huh? Did he make you do it? I would have walked out.
So this is not the one. Maybe it happens after the detective leaves. Let me see. Okay, right here. Here it is.
I have a question for you, Stu. Is there any way that I can talk to him? Not him. The other one.
As in Steve, you mean?
Yes.
The only way we could have you talk to him is if he calls you.
Huh. Must have been another part where she comes in. Because she comes in and asks, like, "What'd you do to my son?" Interesting. I thought it was... Let me just search for it one more time. I thought she came in... Might not been on here. But anyway, it's sad. There's a part where she comes in and he's just quiet like this. What's that? This might be it. I don't know, but she just goes, "What'd you do to my son?" I'm not sure.
I tried for a public defender not too long ago and I couldn't get it because
That's
I got
weird.
a house.
I'm not sure, but anyway, yeah, there's a part where she comes in, and obviously it's after the confession, and she's just like, and it's just them two. The detectives are still outside, and he's just not saying anything. And then one of them walks in, and then she's just like, "Well, what you guys do to my son?" And they just go on about their day. It's tough. Okay, so let's jump. Okay, so we watched that. Okay, so the question is, and then we will go over his appeals. So after season 1 of Making a Murderer, so obviously that confession of Dassey would help convict Stephen Avery, because the evidence was kind of poor in my opinion, but with the confession that just sealed both their fates right there. So many years later, so this is Kathleen Thomas Zellner. She is an American defense attorney focusing extensively on wrongful conviction advocacy. She is Stephen Avery's current post-conviction attorney. She has been representing Steve since January 2016, picking up his case shortly after the release of season 1 of Making a Murderer. So if there's any of you that saw Making a Murderer just season 1 and haven't seen season 2, I highly recommend seeing season 2. Because she is a rock star, and she takes everything apart and recreates it. To be honest, watching what she did in Making a Murderer is what inspired me to do some of my tests that I do now. That is like I said, watching her inspired me to do like the reenactments of Bridge Guy and stuff. And it's just amazing what she does. And so as of 2021, so this last year, she had overturned 20 wrongful convictions. One of her statements is when she takes on a client, she says, "You better be innocent, because if not, I will find out. I will do a better job than the prosecuting attorneys, and I will help convict you." She says that to all of her clients that she's going to pick up, because she looks at the case. She isn't like your typical public defender who, they're there for you. They're there for your story. They're here for, your defense. She's not thinking like that. She's going to look at all angles. And if it looks like it's going to, you're guilty, she will help the case for the prosecution. And she did actually pick up a case. I forget the guy's name, who ended up murdering multiple people. He said he was innocent. She actually, found out, did a lot of research, found out he was guilty, and even helped get some of those names released and where the bodies were located, I believe. So she, just an amazing woman. Amazing. So, okay, let's take a quick break, because then we'll get into the evidence and some of the arguments of that evidence that they had in season 2. Because there's some very interesting stuff, especially the burn, like the whole body of being burned in a burn pile. We'll go over that, and like someone said in the comments, there's a reason why there are crematoriums and what they call burn barrels. So, yeah, so his IQ was, let me go back, I had his 73, which is equivalent to a 10-year-old from what I looked up. So, so we are going to do pet time. We are going to do pet time real quick. Because we do donations. All donations, 35% go into the Humane Society. And I also turned in that other $50, which I'm going to post in a community tab either tonight or tomorrow. So we'd like to do pet time because we'd like to just kind of stop with all, because we're always talking about, kind of ugly subjects. So I thought we'd show some pets from our viewers. If you would like to have your pet shown in a upcoming live, just email me. My mods will put my email in the link, and we will feature your pet in a future live show. So this comes in from Bunny. This is Calvin. And we've got Chihuahua Dotson, who is, this is Dotson. This comes in from Claire. This is Oslo. Then we got Copper Horse. We've got Bobby Z, because we showed some of her other Maine Coon cats. I think she's got some very beautiful cats. Then Christy B sent these in recently. This is Chief and Chewy. Just hanging out on the couch there. Yeah, Bodacious. Yes, I'd love to see, for sure. This came in from Jill. Ozzy, we've seen him a bunch of times. This is a close-up. He's got, I think, a husky. He's got blue. He's got 2 different color eyes. It's really cool. And then this one's also from Jill. It's a tuxedo cat. Oh, my God. I've never really seen a tuxedo cat until she showed me this. And I'm like, oh, my God, I want one. They're so big and fluffy. I mean, you could use them as a pillow. So this is Fat Floyd. She says Fat Floyd, I believe. So, oh, just a beautiful cat. I love all animals, but cats are my favorite. They're easy to take care of for me who's single and just... So this is Marlene. This is from Marlene. This is Ziggy Sue. Beautiful dog. And that is not a pet. And one more thing, because like I said, so if you become a member... I've retired my first donation dance, but I'm going to bring it out for one last time because tomorrow we're going to have Gizla from Grizzly True Crime on. We're going to be discussing the Delphi case, and I've done a bunch of research and filming and stuff. And so, and then also I'm going to have a part 2, a new dance. So I thought in honor, since I'll have a new dance out tomorrow, I'd play you my donation dance for one last time. And then, like I said, I upload it for the members. So anytime you guys can get a good laugh. So one more time. There we go. Like I said, don't try that at home. It took a lot of practice. A lot of practice. Some very dangerous moves in there. Okay. Alright, now we unwinded. Like I said, that's retired now. That is in the members only forever. So if you'd like to become a member, you can tap into that and, dance with me, whatever. Okay, so the evidence. So here's, I picked out some of the, because there's not a lot. But I picked out some of the main evidence that supposedly, sealed their fate. So, in the car of Teresa Halbach's, now her car was found in the salvage yard. It was kind of hidden. As a matter of fact, I have a picture of it. No? Thought I had a picture of it. It out? I must have took it out. No, hold on. Give me a second. I know I had the picture of it. Anyway. Oh, maybe it's saved to something else. Weird. Anyway, so the car. Oh, there it is. Yeah, it's sitting right in front of me. So this is how they would find the RAV4. And surprisingly, this salvage yard is huge. And they found it within like a couple of hours. It was kind of fishy. Very fishy. Now, keep in mind, they did have it on the outside. Apparently, wherever they parked it, it was kind of more on the outside. So maybe it's just because they started kind of outside on the... Instead of just going like row to row, they kind of... I guess one group was walking the kind of the exterior of the salvage yard. And so they found it like this. So, let me close that, go back into the evidence. So anyway, so there was a blood smear, as you can see. Zoom in here. Let me jump back real quick. Boop, take that off. Okay. So there's a blood smear right here. Now this is Stephen Avery's blood. They did test. It is his blood. Now, they believe, and I believe there were some droplets found near the console as well. Now, they believe that, and then, well, let me show this real quick. And this is the trunk of the car. They found blood from Teresa Halbach, as well as, I believe, as some hair fibers as well, like kind of in the carpet. So they believe after she was shot... in the garage, they loaded her body up into her own car, into the trunk, and then so that's where you'd get the blood here. Somehow during this, whatever happened, they never really explained. I can't remember if they explained how he got cut or he just clipped it on something. But apparently he was nicked his hand, and so when he went to go hide the car, supposedly Stephen had gotten some blood on the stick or somehow, I believe. And then supposedly when he was turning the key. Now, that does look like that would happen from just face value. That, if you had blood on your one of your fingers, your knuckles, in that area, and you went to turn your key, you would smear blood kind of like that. But when Kathleen Zellner takes the case, and like I said, she recreates everything. She went and got her own RAV4, the same year, make, and model. Had her assistants put some fake blood on their knuckles here. And they put a piece of paper right here where this, because obviously they want to get blood on the car. So, but they pinned a piece of paper where the spot is. And then they had the assistant, while he had some blood droplets on his knuckles, put the key in and turn it and see if his knuckles would reach. And it's like inches off. So they thought that's, boop, red flag right there. Like, this is supposedly he gets blood on, turning the key, but yet they tried it multiple times. And they thought maybe it kind of flung on there a little bit, but like I said, if you see season 2, they tried to recreate it and they could not get the blood to get on there. The other thing is they tried to recreate how the blood spatter was on this, to where how the prosecution said that he loaded up the body. They also did a reenactment of that, which didn't add up to how they said it supposedly happened. So there's some arguments to that evidence. One of the big ones is they found Teresa's Halbach key, the key to the RAV4, found on Avery Home's, found in Stephen Avery's home, in his trailer. Now, keep in mind, this was on the 7th attempt. 7th attempt. Now, because Stephen Avery was still basically had a civil suit going on with the with the previous law. What? Well, let me jump over. So I pronounce it right here. Manitowoc. Okay, Manitowoc. I was going to say it with a W for some reason. So the Manitowoc County. So they did not want Manitowoc County law enforcement in there without someone from an outside agency, because they felt like that had been kind of a conflict of interest. And it so happens that on the 7th attempt searching this trailer, the one time the Manitowoc police officer comes across and finds this key. So that's why there's been a lot of suspicion that this is kind of a cover up from law enforcement, or at least from the Manitowoc. Supposedly he tried to hide it behind this nightstand right here. So yeah, someone just mentioned, I think it was polygraph. Yes, the hood latch. Okay, so this one's interesting. This was left out in season 1. So there was some DNA that was found on the hood latch to her RAV4 that was Stephen Avery's. Now they use, and they even say this in the trial, that it's called sweat DNA because he was a sweater. And apparently, obviously now DNA has advanced so much, but back then they thought, and now this has been disproven, they thought that certain people sweat more DNA than others. That was a theory that they had back in the day and thought that was kind of true. And so they figured, oh, well, he just sweated on there. But now that DNA is advanced, it's ridiculous. That's not the case. We all kind of shed about the same DNA. There are some that might shed slightly more, but it's not like, massive. There's not sweat DNA. And they said apparently the most, because when they go to get DNA from like evidence from somebody's house, they'll go for a toothbrush because our mouth contains a lot of DNA, our tongue, our hair, obviously. So Kathleen Zellner, because the amount of DNA that they found on the hood latch was way above the normal amount that a normal person would leave, like way overboard. And so they found that suspicious that there would be that much DNA found on that hood latch that, suppose it came from his sweat. She refers to it as, what was he, licking hood latches or something to leave that kind of DNA? So anyway, so that was the argument to that. So now bringing on to the biggest argument of today for now, is that supposedly because they, it was they had this burn pit, and they would just always just burn their stuff and burn tires or whatever, because they would break down cars, and then sell the parts and whatnot, and then just burn whatever left over, rubber. So they believed that they threw her into this burn pit here and burned her down to a crisp, and now all they found was just bone fragments, but yet they found her fragments, some in here, and then some on like 3 different locations on other properties, which is like I said, that's like another stream, because like I said, there's just so many layers to this case, and I just didn't want to overwhelm you guys. But like I said, overall view is the prosecution believes that they tossed her into the fire pit, and this was supposed to cremate her, more or less, into charred bones. But the problem with that, and I pulled this off a site that knows what it takes to actually burn a body and the energy that it needs. So I'm going to read this out to you guys. So let's start at how much energy is required to burn a human body. As you realize quickly, if you think about it, the human body is mostly water. Thus, just getting to the point of burning bones means that you have to burn off all that substantial amount of water. One study, which I've seen cited in several places, states that it takes 2.9 gigajoules to fully vaporize a body. And if you're like me and you have no idea what 2.9 gigajoules means, actually represents, especially as it relates to fuels that the killer would have to have available to them. So I did a few conversions, and basically 2.9 gigajoules is equivalent to something north of 22 gallons of gasoline. What that stunning figure means is that to fully vaporize the average human body at 100% efficiency, you would need 22 gallons of gasoline or so. But there are more considerations to make that are a little more reasonable. First, a good portion of the body wasn't fully vaporized. It was just decomposed to a size, state, and small enough to be carried away into a plume of smoke and ash and heat. Second, the evidence seen on the video there was a good 10 pounds or so of remains left in the pit. Put those two together, and you could probably cut that number down to 30 or 40%. Add to the fact that Halbach's size appeared to be fairly, tiny, smaller, by a significant margin than your average Joe, and that isn't unreasonable to think that you could perform a cremation with as little as 15 gallons of gasoline, or maybe even a little less. At least you could close vessel to burn it. But a typical crematorium is capable of sustained to temperatures ranging about 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. In a typical commercial crematorium, the cremate process takes between 2 and 3 hours. 2 and 3 hours at 2,000 degrees. So the problem with throwing a body on a bonfire is that it loses energy. It's always expelling the heat. It's not trapping the heat in. That's why there's burn barrels, because it traps the heat in and it raises that temperature to actually start to melt the body down into this. Because there are many cases where, and I hate to bring up this one case, but this is one that comes to my mind, is there was a girl that got pregnant, was super freaked out, didn't want the baby. She had the baby, didn't tell anybody. She took it in her backyard, she killed it, I know it's terrible, and she tried to burn it. And she tried to burn it again, and she could not. She thought, she could just, a little baby, she thought she could just burn it alive. And, and just have ashes and bones left over. But it doesn't work like that. Now, in a house with a fire, you've got the roof, a building, it keeps that heat in, it keeps the energy from expanding out, where as a bonfire you just have open skies, so the energy keeps getting released. It's not contained, and not the temperature isn't raising, so it is nearly impossible just to throw a body into a bonfire without just continuously dumping gas on it and keeping that temperature, rising without the energy. Like I said, it's way beyond me, but they had an expert in season 2 talk a little bit more about that. He's like an expert in burning cadavers, and he found that it's just nearly impossible to cremate a body in like a bonfire type situation. You that's why there are burn barrels, because it keeps that energy in. So I think it's pretty fascinating. See if I had any more. Okay, so that's it. So I wasn't sure how long I'd go. So that's just an overall view of the case. Let me pull this up real quick. I did have a. Let's see if I can find it real quick. I did want to. Oh, I know a way. Because someone asked what Brandon Dassing, kind of his situation is. And I just wanted to talk about it for just a second. Some pills here. Okay, so they started appealing, obviously, in reach out 2000. So they started the appeals somewhere in 2013, maybe 2010, and then there was appeals in 2015, and then going through it, 2016, and so they got denied twice, and then it kind of moves up. And then when they got to the 3-judge panel of the 7th Circuit, they actually overturned it. They won, 5-2 or something like that. I can't remember. And, or did all of them vote to overturn it? Might have been all of them voted to overturn it. So they actually overturned it. And then they were going to actually release him. They were going to release him a couple of times. It's actually kind of sad because you actually see it in season 2 where they were going to release him one time and then last minute no. And then they went through this court appeal, and then finally they got the 7th Circuit to overturn it. And then, so they were thinking they were going to go and release him. And then last minute, of course, they put in a petition to overturn that. And then, so once again, on December 8, 2017, they had another appeal. And it was voted 4-3. Oops, I just lost my headphones. They voted 4-3. And sadly, against his overturn. So sadly, I think they had one more opportunity, which was in 2018, and I believe that was denied. The case was moved to so they had one more something, but it was denied. So since then, 2018, that was it. Ran out of appeals. And part of the reason is if his thing gets overturned, it basically means that Stephen gets a new trial without that confession, which is really, in my opinion, the dagger in the coffin. That it's true, Karen. It is true. I think season 2 opens up a little bit more, but when you see Kathleen Zellner do all her tests, and Kathleen, she she says she's going to look at all angles. She isn't there to defend him. She is looking there to look at everything. And I would say after seeing that, it's tough to say. I would think at the most, if you were wrongly convicted once, I feel bad for Stephen, even if he is guilty. I feel bad that he's charged on such little evidence, in my opinion. And especially if Brendan Dassey's confession is coerced, it's, to me, it's not enough. That wouldn't be beyond reasonable doubt for me. Oh, thank you so much, buddy. Thanks for all the work you do, buddy. Thank you so much, Johnny. And like I said, we're going to deep dive a lot more into this. I just didn't want to go because there's so many layers to this. So, just to go over just two theories of if it wasn't Stephen, then who? Now, what you learn in season 2, now this is Bobby Dassey, who is Brandon's brother. And then this is Scott, who is, I believe, his stepfather, who is Brendan's stepfather. And there is a theory that one, if not both of them, could have done it. There is supposedly a witness that came out in, I want to say, 2001, that said that they had seen, I believe, Bobby and someone else that they didn't know moving Mrs. Halbach's car in the tow yard, or back in the salvage yard. And so, let me just kind of read. Oh, the other thing about Bobby, and I hate to bring this up, but he had some really naughty stuff on his computer. Now, he's a teenager. Yeah, he had some really ugly searches about girls. But what was disturbing is that he had pictures of like dead bodies and stuff, and yeah, that kind of naughty stuff. And anyway, what was messed up is that was his computer. That was his login account that they found all this stuff on. But they actually sent that in as saying that was Brandon Dassey's computer. But he didn't. That wasn't his computer. And so all that evidence that looked bad was actually all from Bobby. As the most interesting man in the world says, I don't always agree with Chris, but when I do, he's right. Oh, thank you. I don't... Not sure what I'm right about, but I appreciate it. So anyway, so one theory is that one or two of these guys were the killers, and then they covered it up. They somehow acquired the uncle's blood, because Steven said that he had like a nosebleed one time and left some blood in his sink, and then he said like he'd fell asleep and then or went to work, something like that. He was gone. He came back and he was going to clean it up, and he said it was gone, and he thought that was weird. So, and then what's also strange is Bobby actually testified against Steven and said, yes, I saw Steven do this. He testified against his own uncle, who he knows, who was just already once wrongly convicted for 18 years. That's a gut punch. And then so's T-Back. He says, yeah, I saw Steven last talk with Halbach as well. So, kind of fishy. Now, theory 2 is the boyfriend. I don't know about that. There's the brother. There's one more theory, which is obviously the Manitowoc Police Department. So, this guy. This guy is a strange duck, and I don't know. If you watch the documentary, he's clearly one that seems like he's out to get the Averys. And I believe he's the one that found the key. I could be wrong. But obviously, one of the theories is that it was a setup from the cops. And it was just kind of strange that... Oh, yeah, so he was the one that found the key, because it shows it right here. So, I thought it was interesting that they searched the house 6 times, the trailer, and then on the 7th attempt, this Manitowoc police officer comes in, who's not supposed to be there without being supervised from a different agency, because the conflict of interest going on with the civil case, supposedly finds this key. So they think someone planted it in between those searches to make, obviously, to make it look like it was Stephen. So anyway, there's 2 of the theories, but there hasn't been a lot of talk since the 2 seasons came out. You know, of course, she still has Kathleen Zellner. She still has Stephen as his client. But from what I know is they've kind of just ran out of options. But she's still doing whatever she can to, you know, fight for him. But so I think I will do a part 2. We'll dive a little bit more into his previous conviction and then his history, because I think one of the things is, you know, he never did anything bad, but he did apparently abuse an animal once. And so, you know, obviously abuse an animal, that moves on to abusing humans. So that's kind of a red flag there. But he was never really, before he got charged with that first charge where he spent 18 years, prior to that, he never really had anything major on his record. You know, he was just kind of like, you know, you're just... you know, typical bad boy type guy that, you know, like to piss off the local cops. And so, we'll deep dive into that and just more into the case overall. And then, so tomorrow we've got Gisla from Grizzly True Crime on. We're going to be talking about Delphi case. Let me see. I'm going to pull up one video for you guys just to give you a little... major project. Here we go. Do I have it on that one? Maybe it's under Bridge Gap. Let's see if I have that. I'm going to show you a little highlight. Don't look like I have it. But... anywho, I went out, did some more runs like that. So we're going to talk about the outfits I have. Obviously, I got whole new outfits to do this. I got a blue coat, a brown hoodie. I got a fake mustache. I dressed up as Ron Logan to see how that would look from 70 feet away. So there's a lot of stuff. And then, so we'll kind of go over that for the first part. And then the second half, we'll just kind of discuss some of the recent events like the Kleins and, you know, the two the 2 sketches and a few other things. But I've got some very interesting results. That's all I can say. I won't give anything away, but I've got some very, very interesting results. And Steve, I've got some stuff for you because you wanted me to do some things. And so I obviously filmed for 2 days, going out and just trying to do a lot of research that hopefully can be used for something, to help somebody. And so, yeah. So I'm super stoked. So that'll be at 3 o'clock Mountain Time, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. So super stoked on that. Yeah, Brandon's questioning was handled wrong completely. So with that said, guys, I think we're going to end it there. And then, like I said, we'll be digging more into that maybe towards the end of the week or towards the weekend. And also, I've got the Brandon Lawson story video coming out soon as well, which Jason Watts has been helping me behind the scenes with, so I'm super excited. And True Crime Web, he just started his new channel. He's a former detective. He gives me tips behind the scenes. And so if you want to go check out his new channel, he does amazing work. And I'm sure he's going to be putting out some great content here soon. So with that said, thank you, mods. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to watch my show. And be sure to set your reminders. I've already got it set up for tomorrow. So if you hadn't set that reminder, click on it. Apple Pip, thanks for the... Apple Pip, did you get your mug? You should get it between now and the 8th, I believe. I forgot to email you, buddy. I'm so sorry. But curious if you got your mug. But, yep. So with that, yeah, let me know, Apple Pip, and I'll have to email you. But, yeah, you should have it any day now. And then, we'll do another giveaway. And then, like I said, we're going to be doing the $50 that I'm going to turn in for the donations as well. So, thank you so much, guys.